to hear our brother tomorrow. So I want you to stay to the end of this program. We are going to get to talk 2, where we have opportunity to hear from another legend to address the importance of intimacy in marriage. And this is where I said we should write down our questions, because we don't want to offend our spouses. Because very difficult questions will be asked as we invite the legend, Sir Ben Ikeakor, to take talk 2.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. When you have a slot to talk after Engineer Ebere Owadoka, you have a difficult assignment sustaining the joy that people had in listening to the first speaker, because you are likely to hit an anticlimax. And then when the topic you have to speak on is one that people hardly ever want to discuss, you are in a worse problem. And so this evening, as we look at the topic, the value or the importance of intimacy in marriage, I'll have to explain that ordinarily, one Dr. Funke Akimbade was supposed to present this message or this talk. But because we had moved the dates twice, and unfortunately this third time, it fell into a different, another engagement that she had somewhere, which she could not cancel. I had to take the difficult task of taking it up. So please pardon me if we go to discuss an area where people hate to discuss, and that is intimacy in marriage, which is just a euphemism for saying sexual intercourse or sexual relationship in marriage. Well, I like to start with the fact that when God created man in Genesis chapter 1, he said, "Let us make man in our own image and likeness." And then when he finished, he said, he blessed him and said, "Increase or be fruitful and multiply." You can see that the first creations were by the word of God, but the multiplication was to come through biological processes, even the plants and the animals. And so God gave man the creation of, or the urge for sexual desire, because that was the only way that you could multiply. In Genesis chapter 2, at the last verse, he said, "And the man and his wife were both naked and were not ashamed." Because you see, until that chapter 3, where they ate the forbidden fruit, they didn't know what shame was. And therefore, when he said, "It is not good that man be alone, let us make him a helpmate." Our first speaker had talked about it a bit earlier and said he made him a mate that was suitable for him, a mate that will complement him. And that is why you see yourself, the role as a man, that you need your wife to be the finisher of your own aspirations, to bring it to conclusion. That's why in normal balance, he goes out to look for the food. But you have the responsibility to make that food, that raw food, edible to nourish the body. He donates the sperm, and you have to incubate this sperm for 9 months to bring forth a baby. These are chains of responsibilities that God had given. And so, sex is a very important aspect or subject of life in God's program. And that is why he expects that people should take it seriously. Again, sex is the only exclusive thing that you owe to each other. Every other thing that you are doing for yourselves, every other person can do that for you. Food, washing up, and things like that. There is only one aspect of life that is reserved exclusively for you before your own spouse. That's why it's necessary to take it very seriously. And from beginning, if you look at Genesis chapter 20, when Abraham traveled with the wife, remember in Genesis chapter 20, he said, "Because you are beautiful, my wife, I have to say you are my sister, so that they won't kill me, those who want to take you from me." And that was Abimelech. And surprisingly, if you remember that Abraham was 100 years at the time he had the son Isaac. So imagine that in Genesis chapter 26 again, Isaac went with his own wife Rebekah, and the same Abimelech was again trying to take Rebekah from Isaac. But why I'm bringing it up, because that was the first time we saw a visible evidence of intimacy. Looked from the window and saw the man who said, "This is my sister," and said the way he was romancing her. Said, "Come, why are you telling us a lie? This is not your wife. This is not your sister. This is your wife. And why do you want to put us into trouble? That we want to take your wife from you?" So it shows us that there is a level of intimacy that is expected of every couple towards each other. And that's why we are looking at it today. We find that in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, St. Paul wrote about marriage. And he started in verse 1 by saying, "Well, I think I would recommend that everybody should be celibate like me, not married." But he said, "But for temptation of immorality, let every man have his own wife, and every woman her husband." Which means that what he was saying there is, if you cannot hold yourself, please go and marry. I had that in mind when I married. And that was why it was talk between me and my friends after I got married, because I got married earlier than most of my friends. I got married. I did my wine carrying 2 days after my youth service, when others were still struggling to get a job. I had gotten so many jobs, I didn't know which one to take, but I had taken one out of the 7 I got. And then I went ahead and did the wine carrying before I even started the first job. And I was telling my friends, we are gisting like young men, and I said, well, you see, all this time that we've been trying to avoid dating women, you see, for the first time, I've left your group because I'm now married. And this time, nobody can deny me from having a sexual relationship with. In fact, my mother-in-law or my father-in-law will be angry with me if I don't have sex with their daughter. And so, that was how I started. But before then, I had a very, I don't know whether I say awkward or very peculiar, let me use the word peculiar, childhood. Because I was born in a family of 10 by the same parents, father and mother. I had a senior brother, I had 2 elder sisters, and I was number 4, and I have 6 younger sisters. And so I grew up among the women. And so as a little child, growing up as a son of a village headmaster, I slept on the same bed with my sisters, both younger and older at various times. And therefore, I became a bit insensitive to what other men would have considered very exciting, because I could see them undress. It didn't make any meaning to me. In fact, it became a problem for me when I got married, because it was now beginning to be difficult to differentiate that this is my wife, not my sister. Because I didn't have that kind of excitement. And I remember once I did tell her, I said, if you don't actually wake me up in the morning and show me that you desire me, this is my life. You may not get the best out of me. Initially, she didn't understand it, but thank God that we went through that very easily. And so, my early life determined the kind of person I am, and that is why I can walk in the midst of women, can stay in close contact with them, and they don't make any difference to me, because I'd grown up as a little child in the presence of women. Okay, now, in looking at this question of sex or intimacy, we find that intimacy is the cement that holds all the other blocks of what our first speaker was talking about, your goals, set goals in your marriage. To be kind in the pledge you made, to love and to hold, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to be nice to each other, and to exclude every other person of the opposite sex except this one. And both of you agree. So, therefore, if we find ourselves in situations when we now have difficulties, because no 2 people are the same, especially coming from different environments. And therefore, this sexual urge that we've agreed was set by God differs from individual to individual. And thank God for the Christian background that you are not expected to go and sample. And so what you meet will come up after you have gotten married. And that is why a lot of people run into difficulties. And they say, oh, no, we didn't expect it to be this way. We didn't expect it to be this way. And then trouble starts. But you see that when the sexual appetites vary, it creates problems, schisms inside the home. And so, again, people will look at the various needs of individuals. I'm quite sure many of us will think back and know that there are certain things you will want your spouse to improve upon. There are certain things you want him or her to change. There are certain things you want him or her to imbibe, and you don't even know how to say it. But tonight, we are going to look at the fact that it is necessary that you should sit down and discuss these things. Because if you don't discuss them, then they become problems in your marriage. And various people react in various ways to the same situation. That's why when a man feels denied his obligations, conjugal obligations, some go violent, some go numb. They just I don't know how to say, they just cut off. And then you start wondering, you say, was this the man I married? But he's dying inside him. And he doesn't know how to say it out. Many women react to it differently also. Some get cantankerous, quarrelsome. Some become difficult. Some, just throw caution to the wind and say whatever will happen, let it happen. Of course, I don't expect that should be in Christian gathering or in Christian communities. But then, we find that it is necessary for us to ask ourselves the question at each time, do I deserve what I am demanding of this person? It's a very necessary question. Because you must do your own part to enable the other person do his or her own part. And if you don't sit down to explain to your spouse what exactly you need, if there's anything that turns you off, to say it out in the most polite way. Because what we don't easily identify is that people react to what we call body shaming. If you tell somebody you are too skinny, or you are too fat, or you are too dull, or you have mouth odor, and so on, the way you say it may put that person off. Some years ago, we had a facilitator in the couples advance of this district, which was held in Alliance Building, and he talked to us about communication. And he said that communication has 3 sections, 3 components. Effective communication, he said, depends on the words that you say. That's 1. 2, the tone with which you say it. And then the 3, the countenance on your face as you are saying it. I remember clearly that he gave an instance that if you say good morning, it is the same thing as saying good morning. And he says, I say, good morning. You say good morning 3 times, but the words are the same, but you said them in 3 different ways, and they mean 3 different things. Oftentimes, most people, most adults, don't know how to react to these things, or they react negatively to it. And each time they react negatively to it, it causes a spiral down to the worst. Because it creates a further barrier even between the two people. And so this evening, I'd like us to look at certain things. Like I said, you need to sit down, and I do expect that as we retire to our beds this night, that each of us will have an opportunity of talking with our spouse and discuss these things. Tell your partner what you actually will want him or her to change. What will make you feel yourself a little more or a little better. You must discuss it. And I must warn in advance that oftentimes they may react negatively. As you throw the question, most people from reports from psychologists will react negatively. And many years of counseling, we've come across a number of people who have these issues. And they sit down and talk for 3 hours, 4 hours, and at the end of it, each of them goes home still clutching to the same grudges that brought them there. That is not the way to go. When the Bible says, "For this reason shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and both of them shall become one." It says a very wrong arithmetic that 1 + 1 will be 1, which is not true. 1 + 1 will remain 2. Only if each of the ones doesn't give up part of itself. Because if the first one gives up 1/4 of itself, and the second one gives up 3/4 of itself, they will now say have 1, because they've thrown away 1. If 2 of you throw away 1/4, you are still 1.5. You are not 1 yet. And therefore, these are the objectives of this kind of heart-to-heart discussion, which I think that we need to have this evening. Discuss issues of personal hygiene, because we find that a lot of people have this problem that they are not mindful of their personal hygiene. And so their spouses are in a difficulty how to point it out without offending that person. But I think there are so many ways you can say this thing. If you think the man doesn't want to brush his teeth as regularly, after dinner, please bring the toothbrush and the toothpaste and get in water and say, "Darling, let's get in and do some exercise." And you can do it. He may feel offended mildly the first day. "Why are you treating me like a child?" But I'm quite sure if he sits down to think about the concern that you had that brought it up, subsequently he won't want you to remind him. He will start doing it. Again, there are a lot of women who do not really mind that after a whole day's toiling in the office, in the kitchen, that you can go to bed with the husband without taking a shower. And I think it doesn't matter. It's offensive. It denies that person the full benefit of what he had signed for, like the main speaker had said this evening, before God and man, that for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, therefore that these things should be looked at so that you can start getting the best out of yourselves. Then I now want to quickly just go to the point of the reactions, how people react to it. Each time I'm counseling a couple, and I find that the woman doesn't have any kind words at all, doesn't see anything right the man has ever done. It shows me that there's a breakdown on their sexual relationship. But you see, because we are Christians, most people will not want to discuss their problems out. They will think it's a taboo to be talking about it, that, oh, my husband is not doing well, or my wife is not doing well, and so on. But when God designed the man and the woman, He designed them specifically for purpose of protection. And that's why it may sound funny for you or to you, but God went and hid the woman's sexual point down between her legs. Hid it there. So that for you to have access of it or to it, she must either consent or you must force her. If you look at the ones of animals, it's at the back. So somebody who is walking around the road can plug in there and pass. But God said, no, for man, let me not take chance. Let me go and hide it there. So for you to have access to it, that woman must raise these legs up enough. I'm quite sure most of you who have gone to the gynae tables, we know how they place your legs to be able to do any examination there. And how you expect that your husband will find a way inside there with your legs just on the bed flat is I don't understand it. So, but these are things that we need to understand, because, and that's why I said earlier that these are topics that are difficult to discuss in public, especially in a Christian audience. But then that's why we are here. We want to make the best out of this occasion. And that's why you discover that the torso, the upper legs of any woman is very, very important. Or they're very important to her. Just like the waist. Because if it's not flexible, it will be a lot of difficulty to get what you want. And if you remember that I had said earlier, this is the only thing that nobody else can do for her but herself. Then you sympathize with any woman who has a problem with her thighs. In fact, sympathize with the woman and the husband because he's disprivileged. And for the men, the knee is very important. Because if you don't bend it, you can't get there. And so if you see any man who is having knee replacement, you can understand the problems that they'll be facing in their home. These are things that, there are alternatives, but then they are not easier either. So, like I said, I am handling this topic emergency because Funke is not here. I wish she was here because she has a way of practicalizing these things to the amazement and excitement of everyone in the crowd. But the woman, if you see the way God created even the animals, every animal has, female animal has the method that God has given it to attract the male. And therefore, the woman must also at all times endeavor to be able to attract her husband. I remember I went for a wedding in Redeemed City of David sometime, and the then pastor there was talking about his wife coming to ask him for money too regularly, and she said, "Go away from me, you are a shower." And the woman said, "Yes, I'm an ashawo, but I'm an ashawo with only one customer, which is you." So every woman is actually an ashawo with only one customer, which is supposed to be the husband. And therefore, it is necessary for you, in trying to get the best out of that marriage, to sit down with your husband and say, what are the things I'm not doing well? Because I want to be a pleasure to you. That will also give the man the opportunity to ask the same questions. Please also tell me the areas I'm not doing well so that I can improve and give you the maximum benefit from this. Ebere has just mentioned that in the next 3 or 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, I will have married my wife for 48 years. And therefore, I remind her every morning that I have actually realized the full value of my investments. That God is not owing me for anything. If for 48 years she has been there with me, that at knockdown value, I will still feel fulfilled. In the same way, I also think that she's managed me for 48 years. And at least yesterday morning, I didn't remember to ask her this morning whether she still will want to continue, and she said yes. So at least at yesterday, we agreed that we'll continue. And I like us to consider these things, that when you sit down in the room this night as we close, that you will ask yourself a question, remembering that I said some cardinal points. One, that what I'm discussing with you now is the only thing that I am the only person who can do it for you. And so I want to know how best I can do it for you. A man was talking about, a village man was asked about, he went to the hospital and they said, you need to have a balanced diet. He said, yes, I have balanced diet. He said, well, so how do you balance your diet? He said, in the morning, I eat yam that is roasted. In the afternoon, I eat pounded yam with soup. In the evening, I eat yam with vegetables. So it's yam 3 times, but different varieties of accompaniments. And so the same way should every woman be to the husband, and every husband to the wife, so that you get the best out of your relationship, so that you feel fulfilled, as the theme of this gathering is. I think I would like to give in at this time and hope that during the question and answer session, which I am happy that the main facilitator has recommended, the MC has recommended that please write down your own questions on a piece of paper, and somebody will go around and collect so we can read them and be able to answer to your various needs. That will enable us get more mileage than even if I spoke here for the next 1 hour. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Can we appreciate him? 48 years, no be been so. For anyone in the house tonight, if you have any difficult or challenging situations, I think you better write those questions down. This is the time for questions and answers. I can assure you that they will be adequately dealt with. Between the two of them, I think we have a long mileage. I know many of us are not at 48, but some of us are we are over 30, so we can chip in a word or two. How many people have done more than 30 in the house? Just wave at me if you are in the business. Yeah, so we have a lot of mileage. I appreciate all these men. And maybe tomorrow we are going to issue certificates. Those who have done 1 year will get 1 year. Those who have done 2 years, until we get to the 48 years mark. So maybe we need some volunteers to collect those questions. Do we have some questions? This is the time to open up. That is why I said, yes, you can go around and collect the questions. If you have certain challenges that you want to address, because if this was a university course, this will be Intimacy 101. The foundation has been laid, so we want to build on it. All of us want to leave this program better, so that next year we'll come back with testimonies. We can also accommodate a testimony, those who have attended the program in previous years, and you had issues that have been addressed, and you are coming back a better couple. We can take such testimonies as well. So any questions, just bring the few you have received. Or think about those questions that are troubling you, areas of improvement you need to address. As many of you will not know that, as a matter of fact, Sir Ben Ikeakor and his wife are certified counselors. And many times when we have the opportunity, my wife calls Mrs. Ikeakor, and they can be on the phone for 30 minutes, 1 hour. I don't know whether they are discussing me. But that is why I've done more than 30 years. So, praise the Lord. The first question is intimacy only sexual intercourse? And the second one is, are these sinful in marriage, foreplay, oral sex, anal sex? Any of the facilitators can take these questions. Okay, we'll take these two questions first before I come back for the... Yes. Can I repeat the questions? Oh, okay.
Intimacy is actually close relationship, friendship, but it's also a euphemism for sexual relationship. So intimacy means something that shows, like I refer to that Genesis 26. They were not having sex outside, but I'm quite sure the way he was cuddling the lady showed the king that this is not a sister, this is a wife. You know, there's this general story or saying in Nigeria that if you see a man driving a car and he has a woman sitting by his side, if they are gisting and joking and gesticulating inside the car, is the girlfriend. If the faces are set forward, that's the wife. So you find, so it means that between the man and his wife, there's no friendship. And that's why it feels more comfortable, more intimate, more friendly with the person who is his intimate partner. So intimacy is not just a sex. But of course, sexologists will tell you that the intimacy in the bedroom in the night, I'm quite sure every woman here will agree, does not start in the night, just like most men will want. You just came back from work, you feel like having sex, then you just start dancing around your wife. Yet in the morning as you are going to work, you abuse her. All through the day, you never called her. You came back, you have already quarreled with her that the house is untidy. This is what are you doing this morning? Now it's time for intimacy. You want to go. She will tell you, sorry, I have a headache. That's when they will have a headache. Because you did not start on time. Women are known to be willing to subject themselves to it if they feel your intimacy, if they feel your kind words, if you feel they feel your kind gestures. You came back from work and your wife was slaving in the kitchen and you just ran into the kitchen, remove your shirt, long sleeve shirt so that you don't get soaked on the hand, and then you started washing plates in the sink. Of course, that time you are speaking to her without even saying a word. If you continue your good works that way, just watch what will happen when you go back to the bed. Because you have shown intimacy, you've shown understanding. And that is why it is necessary always. That's why we talk about the 5 love languages. What are the languages of love that every human being? Some are multilingual, some are unilingual. Some people understand just kind words or quality time or service or touch or gifts. These are 5 of. That's why recently, in fact, they said, there was a saying where I was somewhere that when a woman received an alert for a big amount, it touches her nipples will react. Therefore, the intimacy goes much beyond the main actual act of sex. Thank you. What was the second question again? Foreplay, yes. Well, we didn't get to that, but foreplay is sine qua non. You can't do. How can you have a real sexual relationship with your wife without a foreplay? We must admit that there are people who grew up in very peculiar circumstances. Some women who grew up where there were very strict mothers who said, look, if any man sees your pant, you are pregnant. And so she grew up with that. That even when she's married, even when the husband comes, she's worried. We call such people frigid. Frigidity can be also caused for women who are circumcised. Especially if she was a little more grown up at the time she was circumcised. The mutilation. Or those who have been raped. These are circumstances that are embedded in the mind. And so, for you to even get the best out of such people, there must be a lot of foreplay. That foreplay gives you the opportunity to assure the person that you are not a rapist. That you are not come with the knife again to circumcise. And fortunately, I think I call the medical science or pharmaceutical groups have created some gels these days that enable you get a little more even when the mind cannot discharge, cannot release fluids to lubricate the place. There are some gels that you can buy and then it will help the woman. But I'm quite sure that once you show compassion, once you show understanding, once you show care, any woman will be willing and be happy to give up herself to you. Like I said, it takes a lot of effort for her to raise those legs for you. And I think that's what most times they quarrel about, that they don't want to raise it for somebody who will keep abusing them. So you must love your wife and assure her that she means so much to you, not just as a sex toy in your house.
Yes, we have more questions, so the second facilitator will take 2 more.
I think I should have just said Uncle Ben should handle these questions because only he can answer them the way we can relate with them. Let me take the second of the 2 questions. How do we deal with the issue of phones in intimacy and relationships? Do you mean being intimate with your phone? Or do you mean your phone interfering with your intimacy? Of course, you know that they said that there are new spouses in town now. 2 of them. The more dangerous one is the phone. TV used to be one, but TV appears to be knocked out. But phones now have taken the real place. So this is what I would like to say. Number 1, don't make your phone your wife. Don't give your phone the value of your wife, meaning the way Uncle said women's private parts are hidden between their legs. Don't let your phone be hidden between your legs or your pocket. Because many of us, I heard one man was running from the bathroom to pick up his phone that was ringing in the bedroom that he forgot. And soap, because he had water on him, he slipped and fell down. Because he didn't want his wife to reach the phone before him. Abba. Now, it takes me back to what are you doing in that woman or that man's life? If a woman can open these legs that she doesn't open to anybody, is it phone that she will not close? You man, if you are married to this woman who knows your account details, knows, I hope, all your investments, is it that small instrument that you are keeping from her? What is inside? Is a big question. The issue of intimacy has also to do with fidelity. If I were to add a word to the issue of sex, what do you think is the most potent sexual organ? For both people, is the mind. If this mind never ready, land for bed. What you are doing is labor. You never see woman who just like that say, never finish since that time. That means you are in a world of your own. She's in a world of her own. Sometimes this thing is caused by phone. Anyway, let's come back home. Christian men, I'm begging of you. Your marriage can take you to heaven or true, divert you to hell. You see this marriage? it can make you tell lies that you have not told. You know, my uncle fought with his wife. My uncle now fought with his wife. Then my step-grandmother, his mother, started abusing the wife. Say, this is my son since I gave birth to him. And the man is very nice, very kind. He trained all of us in school. Very jovial, was a marketer. Very likable. Say, this is my son. Since I trained him, since childhood, he never fought until he married you. You are a bad woman. So the other grandmama said, don't talk like that, too. Don't talk like that. Fight has been inside him. It's just that there's nobody to bring it out. You won't know the kind of danger or dangerous person or weak person you are until this phone gets the bad part of you. I suggest today that you repent on your own. Tell your wife, this phone, anything you see here that will annoy you, promise me that you won't be annoyed first, so that I can be free to, relate with you regarding this phone. I think our fear sometimes is that they see something, they start asking, who is my D? Who is this one? Why are you coding? All those why, who is questions. Those are the things that, to avoid it, you just carry your phone and put in your pocket and be going your way. Please, let the phone release you. To deal with the issue of phone in intimacy and relationships, what do you call it? Let the phone go. Let the phone be there. You know, one of the things I think that happened in the Garden of Eden, is that if God had, that tree that God said they shouldn't eat, if God had taken it out, or if God had left it and not mentioned it, they probably wouldn't have gone there. When God said, eat the garden, everything. Look at this hotel, big. And God said, this one, don't touch it. That's the one that woman, she now saw it was good. She now saw it was good to make her wise. Something that you are fruit to make you wise. Since when? She said, I must eat it. The same way myself, when you tell your wife, nobody should touch this thing, come back, you see that somebody has touched it. You know that type of thing. So if you leave your phone, nobody will worry about phone. When it's ringing, they say, your phone is ringing, But if you are hiding it, when it rings, somebody will want to get. That's when you want to go and jump, and then you break your leg. And then you break your leg, you have a bad knee. Say, now your knee, you need your knee, All right. We've been married for a while now, and my wife, being a virgin before marriage, we have been having difficulty enjoying our marriage. Please advise us so my wife can help me meet my sexual need. God bless you, sister. You are a prize, and in this age, if you see somebody who said they married as virgin, you should first congratulate them. Give them a whole bottle of drink because they did well. They are a treasure to you. But don't let it become a liability now. The same thing happened to us when we got married. You want to kiss my wife, she'll be looking at you, saying, I don't want this one, I want this one. So we went and bought films, but we found out that they were not good for our own health. So we now heard and went and bought. There's a book called Every Woman. That's the title of that book, Every Woman. Now, an open mind. Read it with an open mind. Sister, I'm talking about you now. If you were a virgin as a spinster, it's very good. It's a virtue. But now, there's nothing to be virgin about anymore. Because you are not just having sex for having children. Because there's one Christian brother, before having sex, they will go and pray and say, God, this thing we want to do now, we didn't plan to sin. It's just that we don't want to have children. And this is the only way we can do it, to have children. God is not annoyed. God is not angry that you're. God will be angry if you don't do it. You heard Oga say it. God will be angry if you don't do it. So, auntie, now that you are married, the truth is that he owns everything about you, just like you own everything about him. If they've told you that there's a way they do this thing that is sinful, for example, somebody asked about oral sex and anal sex. It's still a debate. But somebody said, God has already provided where to enter. Why are you looking for a hole that has another thing? If that is the quarrel that you have, sister, you are right. But if a guy is going to the proper place, Abba, there shouldn't be a question about that. That is on one side. Now, Oga, maybe madam, 2 or 3 times that you have done it for the 2 or 3 children you have. Maybe you have done it as business to have children. You didn't talk about this foreplay they talked about now. You just say, madam, it's time for children. Oh yeah, fiam. You did it. And she, in her mind, is saying, what is in this thing that people have been running around for? I don't like it. And she has been keeping to herself. Go and buy that book, Every Woman. 2 of you sit down and read it. That's what we did. We sat down, we read it. It's a book for women. At some point, it started talking about women things. But if you read it, you would find where the difficulty is. And please be open, as Oga said, be open to talk about it. Don't be shy, don't be angry if you want to talk about it. But please understand that the health of your marriage depends on this. The life of your marriage depends on this. There is no man of God. Just name anyone. Name one, dead or alive, who does not do sex. Forget what they come and do on the pulpit and lay hands. So when they get home, they must undress. They must talk nice to their wife. They must lie down or stand or whatever they want to do, but they will have sex, and they will have it in a way that you yourself would think that they are original sinners. So God likes it. God has no problem. God has no problem with it. So I suggest to you, please, first discount that thought that there is sin in it. There is no sin in it. Or God, discount that thought that you must do it the way you want to do it. How she feels about it is not good. You try and read that book and learn how, start again. If you look at, they say touch, you touch. You go back. They say, okay, bring mouth. They say, follow it like that. Maybe you get the result. Thank you.
Someone says here, if attraction and admiration has disappeared in a relationship, how can you bring it back? First is to find it. Where it ran to. Look for it. Remember Christ's parable about the lost sheep, that 99 had to be abandoned to look for that one that was lost. So please look for how or where that one that love or attraction disappeared to. Because that's the only way you can bring it back. I'm quite sure if you sit down to look at how you came together. I remember a very bad case I treated one time of a member of the Full Gospel who had run out of luck with the wife. The wife had closed him out of her life. And he was a chapter president. So I accosted him one of the days. I was their field rep. And I said, why is your wife not coming for this fellowship? And he said, well, it was the wife that brought him to the Full Gospel, but he doesn't come again. It's okay. Where does she work? He mentioned the bank. So I said, okay, I took time to go to see her. And I got there, filled the form. She was the assistant manager. And then She told him to tell me that she was busy, that she would wait. Of course, I waited, slept off in the waiting room, woke up. She hadn't called me. I think I had a second sleep. And then somebody came later and said, no, madam said she's too busy. She can't see you. I spent 3 hours. So I left. I explained this to the husband. I said, well, this is what he was so mad. He wanted to go and find the wife. I said, no. She's reacting to something. Just wait. And coincidentally, about a month later, something happened in the office and the lady lost her job. She came home crying to the husband that she was maltreating because the husband was a banker, lost his job, and was now having a bad time with the wife. And then said she needs to talk to somebody. So the man said, you see, the only person I would have talked to in this circumstance who can help us is actually the man who came to your office and you refused to see him. He said, okay, can we go to his house? So he called me and said, please, are you in the house? I said, yes. He said, my wife wants to come and see you. I said, why? Is it because of my visit? He said, no, there's an issue. So I said, okay, come. And they came. And I spoke with them. At the end, I asked her just a simple question. What was it you found in this man when you decided to marry him? You said you met him in the church. What did you like in him? And she's mentioned. I said, okay. I asked the man, what did you like in her? I said, okay, so you had a substance that you were pursuing. So where did it disappear to? I said, you can see that somebody somewhere is trying to deceive somebody among you. And I think if you agree with me, please stand up, both of you. I was in my small parlor. And then they stood up. I said, hold yourselves and have a kiss. And they kissed. And I said, okay, let's pray. So we prayed. And I said, okay, you can go. And then she left with the husband. In fact, as soon as she got home, she called me. She said she didn't know what I did because their pastors in the church had tried to settle this matter many times. And he knew, but he doesn't know what happened to her. And she just gave in. And that as they were coming to my house, she had said that was the last time the husband was going to enter that car. But not only has she taken him back to the house, but they enjoyed a good relationship that night. And so for almost 7 days, she would call me in the night around 11 and say, thank you for what you did. Just because I just gave them an opportunity to remember the old things that brought them together. And then they renewed that marriage. So if you can't find it again, please find it and reconnect. The second person said, where do you draw the line if you are attracted to someone else's spouse, where two of you enjoy a relationship? No. You can't. Then you are confused. You can't be enjoying the relationship with your spouse and be eyeing somebody else's spouse. It's satanic. So deliver yourself. What you do is self-deliverance in this case. To say, my husband is the only one for me. Or my wife. I don't know whether it's a man or the woman who is aspiring to someone else's spouse here. This third person says, sex was something you look forward to before marriage with your spouse. A few months into the marriage, you lost that interest in sexual intercourse or anything. Sex becomes a hard choice. What can I do? Again, this one requires self-introspection. You must ask yourself, because you are the only one who will know what is turning you off from it. Find out from yourself, what am I reacting to? What don't I want in this? Is the man not engaging properly. Like I said, communication is very, very vital in marriage. Once you have good communication, once you understand the person's love language and you speak it, there's no reason why the person won't listen. So please, nobody can help you in this one. Not even sexologists, the people who handle sex matters like Funke Akimbade, they can't help you in this because you have to help yourself. But just ask yourself the honest question, like the main facilitator said earlier, when you went to church for marriage, you signed a bond with your spouse. And you said before God and man, this is for life. I am a life member of this family. I'm not going away. So find out where your interest is being diverted to, that is making you finding sex as a burden. I remember a friend of mine had a problem like one of the cases the facilitator treated of somebody who said he was reacting, he didn't like sex again. And then I was not counseling them. I said, look, madam, you can't go to heaven as a virgin in your husband's house. You can't. God will not admit you because you have at least gotten somebody else to sin by abandoning the marriage, forcing him to go and remarry or to roam around because you abandoned the duty post that you signed for. So please, you must please try and find out how you can reconnect back. Find out if it requires this night that you discuss it when you get back. Tell him what you don't like or what is turning you off. And then see. But again, know how to communicate it. Don't say it in such a way to body shame him. Because there are so many parameters here. Thank you very much.
You can do better than that.